Hello guys, Not Blue here, and today we are going to do a new tier list. Today we are ranking the villains in the MCU, so we're going to hop right into it. This is a decently long list, so this might take a little while. I think there's 42 villains on here, and this should be updated through Deadpool and Wolverine, not Deadpool versus Wolverine. Deadpool and Wolverine. If I am forgetting any villains, please leave a comment down below and I'll try to give my opinions on those guys also. So the first villain we have here is Abomination. So Abomination was in The Incredible Hulk and also in She-Hulk. The picture here specifically is from She-Hulk. There are some small differences between the look in She-Hulk versus the look in The Incredible Hulk. But I think overall, I'm not an Abomination fan. I think I'm going to put him in D. Now, the reason I'm not an Abomination fan is because they made him kind of a mindless monster in the first iteration in The Incredible Hulk. And then I just wasn't a huge fan of him in She-Hulk. It kind of felt like he didn't fit as well as he could have, in my opinion. But, I mean, I enjoyed the show. I just didn't think he fit as well as he could have. Next on the list is Adam Warlock. So this is from Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I loved Adam Warlock in Guardians 3. However, he is kind of barely a villain in the movie. So he starts as a villain. He is like the first villain introduced. But he's kind of only a villain for a small part of the movie, and then he goes to the side. And I would say he's barely a villain. He's kind of like a child getting direction from his parents. I think because I loved the acting and just the portrayal of Adam Warlock, I'm going to put him into C. As a villain, he's probably in D tier, but because I love the actor and how well they did with it in the movie, I'm going to put him into C. The next one is Aldrich Killian. I'm going to put him in D with Abomination just because I don't care about him. Iron Man 3 could have been a better movie. I just don't think he was the best villain. Then we have Erishim. I think that's how you pronounce it. This is the villain from Eternals. So I'm going to put him... I'll put him in C with Adam Warlock. This list is shaking out kind of weird, but I'll put him into C because it's the first like Celestial you really get to see. I know Ego claims to be a Celestial, but in the comic books he at least isn't. But Erishim is a really cool. It's a cool way to introduce the Celestials, and it's a cool twist near the end of that movie. So I liked him. I just think that there's a lot better villains in the MCU than Erishim. Then we have Baron Zemo. So I'm going to put Baron Zemo into B. Now, no, you know what? We'll put him into A. Now, if this was just based on Avengers Civil War, I would probably have him in C. But in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I think he really gets a chance to shine there because he gets his mask. It shows a little bit more of his tactical mind. I know that's the point of him in Civil War, is that it's him plotting to like undo the Avengers, but I think they just did a better job with him in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And the little dance scene was really funny, so I just really like Baron Zemo. He's a great character just overall, and I think that because of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, he deserves that A slot. Next, we have Cassandra Nova. So she is the villain of Deadpool 3. Or Deadpool and Wolverine. I know it's not technically titled Deadpool 3. I think I'm going to put her into B. So, the only issue with Cassandra, or the big issue with Cassandra, is it takes a lot of context. So you have to know the characters that she's interacting with. You have to understand the, like, ideals of Charles Xavier, why she's upset. And I mean, I think the only reason she's so high for me is because there's some cool things she does in this movie. The scene with the Human Torch was really cool. Spoilers, I guess. Spoilers. I should have said that before I started talking about Cassandra, but scene with the Human Torch is really cool. And then um all of the scenes with her reaching into people's minds is really cool too. All really cool too. So I'm a fan of her. I don't think she deserves to be an S or A though. Then we have Doc Ock, Dr. Otto Octavius. This is going to be from No Way Home. We're going to put him into B also. For the same reason that Adam Warlock is in C. I don't know if I would say Doc Ock is necessarily a villain. So he starts the movie as a villain. I think he's the first villain you see interact with Peter. I'm pretty sure. On the bridge. And he quickly changes to Peter's side. He's not a villain for very long. So I think because of that, he doesn't deserve A and S like some of the other villains that are in Spider-Man No Way Home. Then we have Dormammu. Dormammu is going to go into D because he's more of a background villain. You don't get to interact with him until pretty much the very end of the movie. He just keeps getting name dropped over and over again. So because of that, I'm going to put him down in D. It's a cool scene, but I don't think he's a great villain. Then we have Ego. So he is from Guardians of the Galaxy 2. I'm going to put Ego in A. So for a little bit of explanation here, I think that he just does an amazing job playing the character. I cannot remember the name of the actor right now, but he does an amazing job playing the character. And I loved all of his interactions with Peter. I like how well he plays a godlike being that doesn't understand that he did something wrong. And overall, I just think the entire acting for him was just so good. He was just so well portrayed that for me, he deserves an A slot. Next up is Electro from Spider-Man No Way Home. I'm sorry. No Way Home. We're going to put him in A. I loved Electro in this movie. He's maybe one of my favorite villains in this movie. Jamie Foxx did an amazing job portraying him, and I'm really happy about that because he did not get a very good chance in TASM 2, The Amazing Spider-Man 2. The whole blue skin in TASM 2 was a little bit ridiculous. I like that they had the electricity in this movie form like a little bit of a mask around his face. I like that they gave him like a, I think it was an arc reactor, right? To contain his electricity a bit. I think he just did an amazing job in the movie, and I was just happy to see Jamie Foxx get that chance at redemption. Then we have Ghost from Ant-Man 2, Ant-Man and the Wasp. Ghost is going to go into D tier. I would put her in F, because I think she's probably the worst part of that movie, is the villain of the movie. However, we're going to put her into D because I think Ghost has a cool set of powers. And I don't think the actress did anything wrong. I think it was just a weird villain choice. So I don't think we should bump her all the way down to F. But I just think that there could have been a better villain for that movie. Or they could have just done some different things with Ghost because it's a villain that it's easy to sympathize with. Next is Gore, the God Butcher. Now, I can't tell how I sound right now, so if my speech impediment messed that up a bit, it's Gorr. So we are going to put Gore into S tier because I think Christian Bale did an amazing job with this character. And to me, he is the best part of Thor Love and Thunder. My only issue with him is that they do not have enough screen time with him. So I think Gore should have been in the movie more. He should have slain more gods. It's kind of the point of him being in the movie. It should have shown more gods being slain. So I think that he deserves to be an S tier villain. I just wish they would have used him a little bit more. Next is the Grandmaster. I loved the Grandmaster. I'm going to put him into B though, because he's kind of like the side villain of the movie, but they did such a good job portraying him in the movie. So because of that, I think he deserves that B slot. Then we have Green Goblin. This is also from Spider-Man No Way Home. They have a whole lot of villains. He's going to go into S. Willem Dafoe did an amazing job. And I think this really got to showcase the split personality of Green Goblin. I like that the costume, because of like the purple hoodie, is a little bit more comic accurate. My big gripe with his character in the original Spider-Man movie was the costume. I love the like comic book costume, and I wasn't a huge fan of how metallic the original costume was. And this still has that original costume in there, but they got rid of that god awful mask. So I just am happy he got to have his like purple hood at least. Next is Hela from Thor Ragnarok. I think Hela's an A tier. I loved Hela. I like the whole daggers manifesting. I love how hard she is to defeat because that's kind of comic accurate. In the comic book, she is the goddess of death. I think the only reason I'm not going to put her into S is because there are a couple of things I wish they had kept from the comic books. I don't like that they made her Odin's daughter. I understand why they did it, to show that like transition from Odin going to from a like warmongering god to a like more peaceful god. But honestly, I don't think that makes as much sense as I would like it to, because Thor is constantly engaged in battles, and it seems like they've still somewhat conquered some of the other realms, and it just seems weird because I feel like Thor could have been under the warmongering Odin and it wouldn't have been an issue. So I wish they had kept Hela as Loki's daughter in the movie, especially since she is in the comic books and in the mythology. So I think in the mythology. I might be wrong there, but I'm pretty sure she is. I'm not as huge of a fan of Norse mythology as I am like Greek mythology. Then we have the High Evolutionary. He's an S tier villain. Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is one of my favorite MCU movies right now. And I think they did such a good job with this villain. It really tugged at your heartstrings with all of the interactions with him and Rocket. Just tying Rocket's entire backstory into the High Evolutionary was great. And then he was just a very like imposing villain for the movie. So I think they did an amazing job with him. I don't know this actor's name, but I want to give him his props. He did a great job portraying him. Then we have Icarus. So Icarus, I'm going to put into C. And I know a lot of people hated this movie, so they probably want him lower than that. But he was a decent villain. It was just a little bit too, well, how should I say this? Obvious that he was going to turn on the Eternals. So that was my big issue with him. The big gripe that I have with that movie is that they made it a little too obvious that Icarus was going to be the bad guy. So because of that, I don't want to put him higher, but I think he was a decent villain. The actor did a pretty good job. I wish that they had tried to hide it a little bit more. Next is Justin Hammer. He's kind of a secondary villain in the Iron Man universe, the Iron Man movies. So I'm going to put him into D because he's that secondary villain. I love that they have brought up Hammer Industries and everything. This guy just doesn't do much. To be completely honest, that's my issue with Justin Hammer is he doesn't do much in the movies other than like talk about experimental weapons and stuff along those lines. This next villain, I don't know if I'm saying his name correctly, and it's been a long time since I've watched Doctor Strange, but I think this is Caecilius. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's how I'm going to pronounce the name, is Caecilius. We can just call him K for now because I know I'm probably butchering it. So I'm going to put K into B. I just liked him. The actor did a good job. it was cool to see like a wizard villain. And I mean, I just think without him, the movie wouldn't have been as great since Dormammu was such a like behind the scenes villain. Then we have Kang the Conqueror, specifically from Ant-Man Quantumania. I'm going to put Kang into A. I really liked Kang. I thought it was cool to see him with like that, I don't know what it's called, the seat that he sits in. Um, the costume was sick. I like that in this picture you can see it a little bit, but I like that they gave him the blue like screen over his face to make it look more like the helmet in the comic books. Because to be honest, it would look awful if they pulled it directly from the comic books. Or if they had it for the entire movie. So I think that was a good choice. And overall, he was just a very good villain for the movie. I do wish that he didn't get defeated so easily, especially so everybody says he got beaten by ants, and that was technically true. I don't think he should have been beaten in hand to hand combat with Ant-Man. Like the ants are one thing because they do just like overtake the fortress that he's in. But Ant-Man's a decent fighter. I don't think he's a good enough fighter to go hand to hand with Kang the Conqueror. So, I mean, overall, good villain. I wish that his fight scene was a little bit better. If it was, it might have gone into S. Next is Killmonger. I'm going to put Killmonger into S. Although Black Panther is not my favorite Marvel movie, mostly because of the CGI and some of the fight scenes, I think that Michael B. Jordan did an amazing job as Killmonger. He looked really cool with like the scars to match his kills. I did just see a TikTok about how weird it is that he got them spaced like that, almost like he was planning to defeat that many people when he started scarring his body. But I just thought that was really funny. Um, Seeing his Black Panther suit was really cool. I know that's not what they call it in the movie, but for the life of me, I cannot remember the name of his like villain persona. It's not Black Panther, but I cannot remember it. So, um, and then he did a good job of portraying like that militaristic guy. So I really enjoyed the movie. I really enjoyed him in the movie. Next is Lizard from, you guessed it, Spider-Man No Way Home. So I'm going to put Lizard into C, which is the lowest for all of the No Way Home characters so far. I liked Lizard in the movie, don't get me wrong, but I feel like they didn't lean into the Court Connors aspect of him much. He was more of like a monster in this movie than anything else. So because of that, I don't want to put him as high up as the others. I feel like they could have done a little bit better job with this one. I think out of all of the villains they brought back, he's my least favorite one in the movie. Then we have Loki. So Loki is an odd addition to this list because Loki is also a hero. So I think he was also on the last list that I did. I'm going to put Loki into S. Tom Hiddleston did an amazing job here. He portrays the character so well, I couldn't see anybody else doing it. For some reason, the only picture I could really find was one of him at Comic-Con, but um, just because I wanted all of these pictures to be in the same format. But he just did such a good job as the character. Hands down, the best villain in the Avengers movies to me, except for maybe Thanos. They're pretty neck and neck. But I like him more than Ultron. I liked him more than Baron Zemo. Honestly, I would say he goes, if we're organizing S tier, which this might be the last time we do it, he might go in first. No, I'm going to say he stays under Green Goblin, but above the other three in S tier because he is just such a good villain and he's in multiple movies. Sometimes as like a hero role, but I would say even in the Dark World, I wouldn't call him a hero. He helped a couple of times, but he certainly had his own motives there. Speaking of the Dark World, we have Malekith, the Dark Elf, next. This is going to be our first F tier rating. Now, to be fair, I like how they did Malekith. Or I liked the actor that played Malekith. Let's correct myself. I did like the actor that played Malekith. However, the movie sucked, and I wouldn't say that he was a great part of it. I think because of that, he'll go into F. Then we have the Mandarin. We're going to put the Mandarin in C. And not because of Iron Man 3. I just liked him in Shang-Chi. He was just a very funny character in Shang-Chi. And I think it's hilarious that instead of actually using the Mandarin, like Marvel maybe should have, but maybe not in Iron Man 3, like the Mandarin should have been a main villain somewhere. They just had somebody play an actor playing the Mandarin. I'm not even going to say spoilers there because Iron Man 3's been out for so long now. But I just liked the actor did a good job, and he's hilarious in Shang-Chi. Then we have MODOK. MODOK, I think, is going to go into C also. But I'm going to keep him at the very bottom of C, I think, for the entire list, even if I don't move him, because sometimes I don't swap people around in the tiers. But MODOK was interesting. I know a lot of people hated how the CGI looked. I think the point of MODOK is he looks weird. So I didn't have an issue with that. It was odd to make him just Yellow Jacket. Because MODOK was I guess Yellow Jacket is also a genius, but it's just an odd choice. And overall, I think he was a funny addition to the movie. Quantum Mania could have gone without him as a character. To be completely fair, I don't think the movie would have changed if you just removed MODOK, and that's my biggest gripe with him. Then we have Mysterio from Spider-Man Far From Home. I'm going to put him into S. Also above those guys. So to me, Mysterio is one of my favorite Spider-Man villains in the MCU. I think Jake Gyllenhaal did an amazing job. The costume looks great. They somehow did the fishbowl, which I wasn't expecting them to even try to do, to be completely fair. But they pulled off the fishbowl. Him using like VFX was really fun. Because, that's pretty much what Mysterio is doing, is tricking people with visual effects. And I like that most of his VFX, to make him look like he was using like magic, looked like Doctor Strange spells. I thought that was a really cool addition to the movie because it just makes sense in universe that people would see Mysterio and they're like, oh, we have another wizard fighting for us. I also just think, like I said, Jake Gyllenhaal crushed it. There was a really good dynamic with Peter there. And the only gripe I have with Mysterio, that a lot of people have with Mysterio, is that he is almost an Iron Man villain because he is upset with Tony Stark. But I think he just does such a good job manipulating Peter that I kind of don't care much about that. So overall, just a huge fan of the character. Then we have Namor, or Namor. I think it's Namor, but that's how I've always pronounced the name, talking about the comic book character. But I'm concerned now that he's Latin American, it might be pronounced Namor. But correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. I'm going to put him in A. I think above Zemo. He was maybe my favorite part of Wakanda Forever. So I love comic books. And he's a very prevalent character, I would say, in the Black Panther verse. And I understand he's his own character. Don't get me wrong. And he's not like a Black Panther villain per se. He's normally considered a hero. He's considered like the first mutant and everything. But it was just really cool to see that dynamic between Atlantis and Wakanda. Because in the comic books, they don't get along very well either. And then I like that they kept the ridiculous wings on his ankles. I thought that was hilarious. And just the underwater palace and stuff looked so cool. And they just did the character justice. So I was very happy with that in Wakanda Forever. Then we have Obadiah Stane. Obadiah has a trait that I don't like a lot about a lot of villains, but we're going to put him into C, above MODOK, but not above the rest of these guys, I don't think. Obadiah Stane has that unique MCU villain thing. I won't even say unique. You know what? This happens in the DC universe. This is just a comic book problem. And that is the fact that he is just an evil Iron Man. He has pretty much an Iron Man armor. And I understand, Obadiah Stane's like a comic book character that is also warmonger and all of this other stuff. So I understand that it's not inaccurate to the comics. I just don't like when a intro movie has a villain that is just the same power set as the character. I think it just makes it a little bit boring. And I do contradict myself a little bit there, because S tier does have Killmonger in it. It was a very similar character to Black Panther, but I think the actor for Killmonger just did so well. But no, I liked the actor for Obadiah Stane. I understand the point of Obadiah Stane, and the whole betrayal reveal near the middle or the climax of the movie was good. I just think it's a little bit boring. I mean, that's all I'll say there. Then we have Paradox from Deadpool. I almost said Daredevil for some reason. Paradox from Deadpool. I'm going to put Paradox also in B, underneath the other four. So he was just a really funny character in the movie, and he was easy to dislike, which is good when it comes to a villain. So overall, I enjoyed Paradox. I think Deadpool and Wolverine was just a solid movie. So I think both him and Cassandra both are deserving of this B tier listing. Then we have Red Skull. Red Skull, I'll put into A. He's a very good Captain America villain. And he is also very easy to hate because the guy's a Nazi. So I think that makes it a little bit easier to dislike him. But overall, just a good villain in a really good movie. Captain America, The First Avenger is just a solid movie. So I enjoy Red Skull. Same issue as Obadiah Stane, but I think the whole Hydra thing makes it a little bit more bearable because he's just a leader of an organization that Captain America should be fighting against in World War II. So then we have Ronan from Guardians of the Galaxy 1. I'm going to put Ronan into C. I like Ronan. He has a cool hammer, first off, sick hammer. I like Ronan. He's an interesting character. I like that they made him like a general for Thanos because it helped tie it into the whole Infinity Saga. My big issue with Ronan is the end scene where he gets defeated. Not the dance battle. I thought the dance battle was hilarious. The whole everybody holding hands for the Infinity Stone thing was just a little cringe, which I understand why they did it, but I mean, nothing against it. I think Ronan was a solid character for an introduction movie because normally the villains can be a little bit weaker in the intro movies. Next, we have Sandman from, you guessed it, Spider-Man No Way Home. We're going to put him into B. I think maybe above these guys. So I liked Sandman. He was great in the movie. I think there's a couple of times where I was confused as to why he was still fighting against Spider-Man, because it seems like he would be a character that would also just want to get home, and that's what the Peters were working on. So I don't understand that, but I just love the character of Sandman, and I think that actor has always done a good job with him. He did an amazing job in the Tobey Maguire movies also. Next, we have another superhero slash supervillain with Wanda Maximoff. I promise I can talk, guys. Wanda Maximoff, aka Scarlet Witch. She was the villain in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. I'm going to put her, I think, into the very top of... No, you know what? I'm going to put her in S. I think WandaVision, she was a great villain because it really showcased the power of a reality warping villain. And then she was just a great villain in Doctor Strange. It was cool to see a magic user that could more easily parallel Doctor Strange. The only reason Caecilius, if that's how you say his name, could hold his own against Doctor Strange was because Strange was still new to the whole magic thing. Wanda's just a powerhouse. So she's just a really good character. I love Elizabeth Olsen. So overall, just great character, great villain, big fan. Next, we have Taskmaster. I'm putting Taskmaster into F. Black Widow had its positives. I like Florence Pugh. I think that's, yeah. Scarlett Johansson did a great job. I loved the Red Guardian. Taskmaster was not great. I wasn't a huge fan of Taskmaster. I like the comic book Taskmaster, how he can just mimic fighting styles and stuff. And I understand they tried that in this version, but if I remember correctly, because I haven't watched a movie in a long time, it was more of a tech thing. It wasn't a skill thing. And it just, I feel like the villain just didn't hit the right way, honestly. Then we have Thanos. Thanos is S tier. And we're going to stop reorganizing the S tier, but he is an S tier villain. He has such a demanding presence through the entire Infinity Saga because he just gets brought up so many times. He does such a good job in Infinity War, just like showcasing how much of a threat he is. Endgame, he did a great job, especially that final fight with all of the Avengers. Him fighting off Thor and Captain America at the same time was really cool. I just think Josh Brolin did an amazing job with the voice. The character was a really good villain, and it really showed why they needed an entire team to fight him. Then we have Ultron. So Ultron, obviously from Avengers Age of Ultron, I think was honestly a missed opportunity. We're going to put Ultron down in B. The reason we're putting Ultron in B and not lower than that after the statement I just made is because he does have some very good quotes and everything, and he is a decent villain. I feel like they shouldn't have beaten him in one movie. Ultron should have been more of a like present villain, and I kind of hope they bring him back soon. There's rumors he's going to get brought back for like a damage control villain, which would be really cool. I just think he was a little bit of a waste of an amazing villain. So I hope that they're not done with him. I also don't like that they introduced Vision to like beat Ultron. I think the Avengers should have been able to take care of it a little bit easier, honestly. Next, we have Vulture. I'm going to put Vulture into A. I think he did an amazing job with the character. Michael Keaton did an amazing job with the character. Amazing villain. Just a good movie. I think Homecoming was a good movie to introduce Spider-Man. I like that it's revealed that he is Spider-Man's girlfriend's dad. That was really cool. I hope that they continue tying him into stuff. So he was at like the end credit scene for a movie recently, and I mean, I don't know if it's going to go anywhere, but it was cool to see. I mean, he was at the end credit scenes of the fourth Spider-Man movie, I think, talking to like maybe Scorpion. So I'm just hoping that they continue bringing him back. And I just think he did a great job. And I don't think there needs to be much more reasoning than that. He just did a really good job with the character. Then we have Wenwu. Wenwu is the villain of Shang-Chi. I'm honestly going to put him in A. I liked him. I think he was a really good part of the movie because he is a villain, but he kind of has his reasoning with his wife passing away and everything, and then him just being this power hungry villain that's had this power for an incredibly long amount of time because he's so old. Like he doesn't look old, he doesn't age much, but the wings have been sustaining him. And then just that end fight scene with him and his son was just so good. It was such a cool scene. And the wings themselves are just really cool. So I enjoyed him as a villain. I think he did an amazing job. And I think it was a really good villain for Shang-Chi. So that was cool to see. It also kind of seems like he might be the Mandarin, but I think there might be more going on with that, so we'll see how that develops. Next, we have Whiplash. Whiplash is F tier. He's such a bad villain. I didn't mind Iron Man 2. I didn't like him. I don't know what it is. I couldn't get behind this character, really. Then we have Bucky Barnes, the Winter Soldier, S tier. He's also a hero villain dynamic because he starts as a villain. He's a brainwashed Soviet assassin, transitions into being Bucky Barnes on the Avengers side. So he's in Falcon and the Winter Soldier as a hero. He's in Infinity War and Endgame as a hero. He's kind of in the middle in Civil War. He's like on the one, but he's just such a good character. I think Sebastian Stan does an incredible job portraying him. He's just great as the character. I love the newest look for him with the like black metal. That's really cool. But I think as a villain, a big thing here is they really do a good job of showing how deadly he is. So in The Winter Soldier, they do a great job of showing how good of an assassin he is because he does hold his own against Captain America for the entire movie, like big portion of the movie. And then Civil War really showcases how brainwashed he is, which is a weird thing to say, but it shows why he's a villain because Bucky was such a good guy before becoming the Winter Soldier that I think that explanation is nice for the movie. Then we have Yellow Jacket. I didn't like Yellow Jacket. He was okay. We'll put him at the top of D. I just thought the villain was all right. Could have been better. I don't know. Next we have uh Yarnwag. I could not remember this guy's name before making this list. But we have Yarnwag. We're going to put Yarnwag into we'll put him in C. So he was a decent villain for Captain Marvel. I just think he could have been a better villain. I mean, they did the stereotypical like the leader of your group is actually a bad person and you need to stop them kind of storyline for Captain Marvel. And I think it could have been better. Oddly enough, I'm realizing I forgot a villain on here. And I'm not going to look up a picture of them. Or I can, because I need to figure out the person's name. Okay, so it is Dobbin. This lady. So, Dobbin is an F tier villain. I could not remember her name. All they did was they took Ronan, who people liked in Guardians of the Galaxy 1, and made him weaker, more boring, and threw in a like weird reason for her to be a villain. Captain Marvel destroyed the sun that was keeping these guys alive, and she's like, "Oh, we need to defeat Captain Marvel to get the sun back." I don't understand. I mean, that wasn't the storyline. The storyline was pulling things from different planets, like the oceans and stuff along those lines. But I don't think she was a good villain at all. All they did was give her a hammer that lets her steal powers from the Marvels, and that's it. I think she was just boring, very forgettable. I just could not remember this woman's name. So because of that, I don't think uh, she deserves to be higher than F tier. I feel like I am forgetting other people here also, but the only one I can remember is her. So, like I said, F tier for her. Overall, so this is what our list is looking like. I have Green Goblin, Loki, Gore, Mysterio, the High Evolutionary, Killmonger, Scarlet Witch, Thanos, and the Winter Soldier over in S tier, which I think they all are deserved of that. We're not going to go through all of these because that's 42 people, but our F tier we can touch on real quick. We have Malekith from Thor the Dark World, just an overall bad movie. And I think that the villain didn't have a way to shine in that movie. Taskmaster from Black Widow, just an underwhelming villain. And then Whiplash from Iron Man 2, who just kind of sucked. I don't think anybody cared about Whiplash. I don't think Iron Man cared much about Whiplash. If I'm being completely honest, I don't think Tony Stark was concerned about him. So leave a comment if you disagree with any of these opinions, if you agree with any of these opinions, or if I forgot a villain or something along those lines. So this is just the Marvel movies, I believe. So this does not count the villains in the TV shows. Miss Marvel's villain, I wouldn't have put very high because I think they're a little forgettable too. It was like her ancestors from a different planet, and I don't know. I loved the show. Villains were a bit forgettable. Hawkeye would have gotten decently high because I did like Kingpin being in it, and I did like the character of Echo in Hawkeye. I wasn't a huge fan of the Echo show, but Kingpin would have probably been an S tier villain. And I'm kind of blanking on most of the other TV shows. So, like I said, if you have any comments, please leave a comment. I like reading them, I like engaging with them. So, I would love to hear what you guys think. If you liked this video, please leave a like. If you want to see these videos as they come out, please subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell to be notified when videos come out. I plan on doing a couple of videos about like favorite outfits in the MCU. So like a video about Captain America's best suits kind of thing. And then other MCU tier list, some D&D tier list, stuff along those lines. So other than that, I hope everybody is having a great day. And until next time, peace.